Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Minecraft Java video. Today I'm going to show you guys how to edit and change your shader settings so that you can use different shader settings and different shader options for iris shaders. By default, at the moment, we can't actually change our shader options when we use iris shaders. So by using this method, we are able to change our shader settings and then use our new shader settings and new shader options for iris shaders. By default, we can do this in OptiFine, but unfortunately at the moment we can't do this with iris shaders. There is work being done for iris shaders, so in the future we would be able to do this, but at the moment we can't do it. There is a fork called Starline where we are able to customize our shader options in iris shaders. However, the Starline fork is not very stable, so this is another method where you can manually change your shader files and customize your Minecraft shaders so that you can use different shader options when using iris shaders. You are going to require a few things before we do continue. So first of all, I would recommend that you install some kind of a text editing software like Notepad++, or you can also use the default Windows Notepad as well. You do need OptiFine installed, and you also need iris shaders installed as well. I have done videos of how to download and install OptiFine for Minecraft Java Edition and how to download and install iris shaders for Minecraft Java, and I am on the latest version of Minecraft Java, which is version 1.17.1. So just make sure that you do have those things. I'm also going to show you how to quickly download a shader pack from the CurseForge website and how to install that, and then we are going to get on by customizing that shader and then using those customized and new shader options in iris shaders. Alright, so let's go ahead and download some Minecraft shaders, and the website we're going to be using today is CurseForge because we do have a nice selection of shaders where we can download them straight from the CurseForge website. So in your internet browser, start typing in curseforge.com and wait for that to load up. Now click on the Minecraft icon over here and then click on the customization section over here, as you guys can see, and in the customization section you will see that we do have different shaders over here. You can actually type in shaders in the search option here, and then that will load up all of the different shaders that we can actually download from CurseForge. So for this example, I'm going to actually use a BSL shaders. Obviously you can go ahead and download other shaders, but do make sure first of all that those shaders are working with iris shaders. There's no point downloading a shader pack and then editing that and then realizing that it does not work with iris shaders. So it's very important that you guys first of all download a shader pack, test it out with iris shaders, and then we're going to move on to the editing side of it. So let's go ahead and download BSL shaders because that's a nice and safe option to select. So let's wait for that to now start the download. Alright, so as you guys can see, it has finished downloading the BSL shader file. This is version 8.1.01. This is a zip file. Another thing I forgot to mention is that you are going to require some kind of a zip opening application. So anything like WinZip or WinRAR, that should do it. You can actually go ahead and download them completely free. So we are going to require to open up a zip file later on. Okay, so now let's open up our Minecraft launcher, and then we're going to go inside the Minecraft directory. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. Once the launcher has loaded up, if we go into the installation section over here, just hover over any of the installations that you might have in this section, click on the folder icon, and that should open up your default Minecraft directory. Once you are in your Minecraft directory, look for a folder that says shader packs. If you don't have this folder, just right click on an empty space, click on new, click on folder, and then just rename that to shader packs. Now go inside this folder and then just drag the shader pack that you've just downloaded. So we're going to drag the BSL zip file into our shader packs folder like so. Okay, I'm now going to go back into my Minecraft launcher, and I'm actually going to load up Iris and Sodium. So as you guys can see, I've already installed OptiFine for Minecraft version 1.17.1, and I've also gone ahead and installed Iris and Sodium for Minecraft Java 1.17.1. So let's click on play where it says Iris and Sodium so that we can test out that these shaders actually do work with Iris and Sodium, because there's no point downloading some shaders which don't actually work properly. There are a few shaders which might not work with Iris and Sodium, so do make sure that you are using some kind of shader that does work with iris shaders. Alright, so now the game has loaded up. We can go into options, click on video settings, click on shaders, and we can actually enable BSL shaders. Now let's close this down and go back into our single player game. Let's load up this world and let's see if everything does work as it should. We can see that we do have some different clouds here. So let me just quickly go ahead and change the time to day so that we can actually see that we are using the shaders. So as you guys can see, we do have some nice shadows here and we have some different types of clouds. So obviously we do know that these shaders are working as they should, and I am obviously in iris shaders. As you guys can see over here, we have some different looking options here for iris shaders. So we can close this down now and we can actually go back into our Minecraft launcher. Now this time we're going to launch OptiFine because we're now actually going to start making our different changes to our shader files. So we're actually going to now configure our shader options, and then later on we are going to be able to use those specific options that we did change with iris shaders. Let's maximize this window now. Let's go into options, click on video settings, click on shaders, and let's enable BSL shaders with OptiFine. Alright, let's go back and let's go back into our game. Alright, so as you guys can see, the game is now loaded up and obviously the shaders are working as they should. I'm now going to go into my options, click on video settings, click on shaders, and now making sure that BSL is selected here, I'm going to click on shader options. So now we can actually start making our changes in the shader options for BSL shaders, and you should be able to do this with any other shader that allows you to change its settings in the OptiFine settings as well. So we can actually go ahead, as you guys can see, we can change the different profiles for BSL. So I'm actually going to set that to a medium, and I'm going to make a few different changes just to show you guys that these changes do actually come across into our iris shaders mod as well. Alright, so let's go into lighting and let's enable the dynamic hand light. So if you guys do actually equip a torch or any light emitting item, then this should actually make your surroundings light up. This is quite a cool effect to have and enable in our settings. So do make sure that dynamic hand light is turned on if you want to. Let's go back into the shader option screen. Now let's click on atmospherics, and in this section I'm actually going to make the sun and moon into a round sun and moon. I'm going to make the round sun and moon option set to on, as you guys can see over here. I'm going to click on clouds. I'm going to change that to vanilla. So in the atmospheric section, I made the clouds into vanilla and the sun and moon I've changed to a round sun and moon, as you guys can see over here. Let's go back now. Let's click on post effects. Alright, so in the post effects, I'm actually going to enable depth of field. By default, that is switched to off. I'm also going to turn down the depth of field effect there to 2 instead of 8 because 8 can be a bit strong. So just going to change that to 2. I'm going to leave everything as it is. Lens flare is already enabled. I'm also going to enable the outline because I do like the cell shaded effect that we can see in the game. So I'm going to change the outline setting to black and leave everything as it is. So I've turned on depth of field and I've put the outline as black, as you guys can see. I'm going to click on done. I'm now also going to change a few other settings. I'm going to change the water as well. So let's go ahead and change the water texture mode to vanilla and the water alpha mode to vanilla as well. And I'm going to leave the rest of these settings as they are. I am also going to change the color as well. So I'm going to click on color, click on watercolor over here. I'm going to tone down some of this red, make it 60. I'm going to change the green color as well, make that 100 so that we do have some nice blue looking water in the game. Let's click on done, and I think that should be it in terms of actually changing the various options here. Obviously you guys can go ahead and change other options in here as well. You can enable motion blur and all the other kind of stuff in here, TAA, dirty lens, retro filter, whatever you guys want to change, you can do that. It doesn't matter because we are going to be making sure that iris shaders also have these shader options as well. So let's click on done and let's go back inside our game. So now, as you guys can see, we do have a different looking Minecraft. I think that looks really cool. I do like those clouds, how they look with the cell shading line there, as you guys can see, and it's also done it for my character as well. And as you guys can see, we have some nice blue looking water as well. If you just zoom in and look at the water there, you can actually see that it's a nice blue color, which really gives it that vanilla type feeling, as you guys can see over there. So what we're going to now do is we're going to actually go ahead and use these settings with iris shaders. So let's quit out of this and let's go back into our Minecraft launcher. Now, again, hover over any one of these installations over here and click on the folder icon, and that should open up your Minecraft directory. And now, once you are in the directory, go into the shader packs folder. And now you will notice that it does have a text document here that says BSL version 8.1.01.zip.txt. So this is a text file. Now, I do recommend that you guys actually use something like Notepad++, because that's really easy to use. It's a free application. You can download it completely free, and it's really simple to use. However, you guys can actually use a default text editor as well that comes with your system, so it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and open up this file and let's take a look. So as you guys can see, some of these settings have been changed, and these are the settings that OptiFine has allocated for BSL shaders. So you can see that the water settings and the depth of field strength there has changed. By switching to a medium profile, it's actually turned off the light shafts. It's made the sun and moon, and it's changed that into a true setting, and it's put the outline as #1, as you guys can see over here. So some of these settings have changed, obviously, and now we're going to port these settings into our shader pack files and then use them with Iris shaders. So let's minimize this now, and now let's actually go ahead and create a new folder inside the shader packs folder. So right click on an empty space, click on new, click on folder, and then now rename the new folder to anything you want to call the new shader. So I'm going to call this BSL edit 1. Alright, so once you've renamed your folder, we can actually go ahead and open up our BSL zip file. So as you guys can see, I've double clicked on the BSL zip file and it's opened up this window over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go inside the BSL edit 1 folder, and I'm going to drag the shaders folder inside that BSL edit folder like so. So inside the newly created folder in your shader packs folder, just drag the shaders folder from the zip file, and now we can actually close down the zip file, and all of the editing now is going to be done inside this shaders folder. And once you go inside this shaders folder, you will see some different folders and some different files in here. And in BSL shaders, what we need to do now is go into this folder which is called lib. So it's lib, and then now we need to go and look for a file which is called settings.glsl. So open up this file which is called settings.glsl, and these are in fact the shader options file for BSL shaders. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use the options from the file that OptiFine created and change them inside the settings.glsl file, as you guys can see over here. So let's go inside the file that OptiFine created. Starting from the top, all we need to do now is actually highlight just before the is equal to sign there. Don't include this is equal to symbol or anything after it. Make sure that you are highlighting before the equal sign. So as you guys can see, I've highlighted water_r. I'm going to click on Control and then C to copy it. I'm now going to go inside my settings.glsl file. I'm going to click anywhere inside this file, and then I'm going to press Control and F to open up the find function, and I'm going to paste the copy text that I just did. I'm going to click on find next, and as you guys can see, it's brought me over here where it says water R, and it's got a figure in front of that which is 128, and as you guys can see in the other file, that figure should be 60. So let's go ahead and actually change this to 60. Let's look for DOF strength, and let's find that over here. So as you guys can see, it says DOF strength, which is 8, and obviously we selected 2.0, so I'm going to change that as well. And let's go into AO, and as you guys can see, it says AO equals false. So I'm going to highlight AO, and then I'm going to search for that, and let's look for that. So as you guys can see, it now has define AO. Make sure that you are looking for text that has define in front of it. So it should say hashtag and then define. As you guys can see, it says hashtag define AO, and to make that into a false option, so technically we are disabling the AO option, I'm going to actually click over here. I'm going to press backspace twice, and I'm going to press the / key twice as well. And what that's going to do is actually mute this function here, as you guys can see. So now AO is basically turned into false as per the OptiFine settings file there. Let me just quickly look for some of these other settings as well. So water alpha mode, let's look for that. And we need to change that to 1, as you guys can see. I'm going to change that to 1 over here. And then I'm going to do the same for light shaft as well. that is showing as false, so we can now set that to false as well. If you guys do come across something that does not say define in front of the text that you are finding, so for example, at the moment it says light shaft, but it's got something else written here, so obviously this is not the thing that we need to change. So just hit find next again until it shows you hashtag define and then the text you are searching. So always make sure that it has define in front of the text you are searching. So as you guys can see, it says define light shaft. So let's go ahead and actually make that into false like it says over here. And now let's look for round sun and moon. So obviously, as you guys can see, this says true, so we're actually going to turn on the round sun and moon setting. As you guys can see, it says it over here, round sun and moon. It's got hashtag define round sun and moon. And to actually make this into a true figure, as it's showing over here, we're going to delete these two forward slashes before the hashtag. So I'm going to click on this bit here, I'm going to press backspace, and then I'm going to give it 2 more spaces. So now we can see that the hashtag define round sun moon is turned into a true figure. So it's basically turned on the round sun and moon. So let's go back into this. I'm now quickly going to do the same thing for all of these settings, and I'm going to be right back. Alright, so as you guys can see, I've now gone ahead and changed all of the existing settings in the settings.glsl file and made them match with the BSL OptiFine settings file, as you guys can see. So all of the things that have changed in the OptiFine settings file, I've gone ahead and changed them into the shader file. So I can now close down the OptiFine file, and now I can actually go ahead and click on this cross, and it's going to ask me, do you want to save this file? Because we have made a few changes. I'm going to select yes, and we can now close down the Notepad++ as well. So now that we have changed our settings.glsl file, we can go ahead and launch the game and play with the newly configured shaders. Now, just to make you guys aware, sometimes this file can be called something else. So if you guys are using the complementary shaders, they can be renamed to something else. If you guys use any of the Chocopic 13 edits, then this file might be located in a different folder. And if you guys do have any questions about them, just leave them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to try and help you guys out to locate those files. So basically, just look for any of the text files that have those options that OptiFine creates, and then change them inside the folder like I just showed you. We can now close this down, and finally we can now launch Iris and Sodium. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so let's maximize this window. We can now go into options, click on video settings, click on shader packs. Now you can notice that we have 2 different options here. We've got BSL, which was selected earlier, but now it is showing BSL edit 1, which is the newly created folder which I made and I changed the settings for. So now I'm going to click on that file and click on apply and then click on done, so we do know that those options have been selected. I'm now going to click on single player. Let's go inside a different world now, and let's see if those settings have actually pulled across into Iris shaders as well. So technically it should work. Alright, so as you guys can see, the clouds are now looking cel shaded, and all of the settings that we did make, the water is now blue. We do have some nice outlines here, and the sun is also rounded, as you guys can see over here. So all of the settings that we did make with the shader pack file in the newly created folder have now pulled across, and now we can enjoy our shaders with Iris shaders using the new settings. We also did enable the hand light option there. So let me just change the time to midnight, and then let's go ahead and equip a torch. And as you guys can see, it's now illuminating everything around us, which is a really cool effect, I think, because we actually don't have any type of mods installed. So we're not using any dynamic lighting or anything as such. And this is just the regular shaders. And now I can just equip a torch in my hand or any light emitting option, and it should work with that as well. Alright, let's change it back to a daytime now. Let's go ahead and change our shaders back into the default and regular BSL shaders. So let's click on video settings, click on shader packs, and click on the regular BSL zip file. And as you guys can see now, everything looks completely different. I'm now going to go back into options and enable the edit that we just did over here, as you guys can see. So if you guys have been wondering how do I manually edit and customize my shader options, and how do I change my shader options in Iris shaders, this is a good method to do, and there's no risk of anything not working, because this would be stable, because we are just using the basic shader files and just changing the shader options text files, and then using a custom folder as I showed you guys earlier. Another good thing about this is that we are using a duplicate of the shader file. So if you guys do mess up any of the files, we always have the zip file there. You can create a brand new folder and then just extract the shaders folder into that brand new folder. So let me just quickly show you what I mean by that. Let's go back into our launcher. Let's go into shader packs. And let's say, for example, you make an error or some kind of problem occurs with the folder that you just created. So don't worry about that. Just create a brand new folder and you can just open up the BSL shader file and just copy the shaders folder inside the new folder like so, and then rename it to whatever you want and it should work. So it's that simple. You guys can do that multiple times as well and have different options for your shaders as well. So there is a lot of flexibility by using this method. It can be a bit time consuming by copying and replacing those text files. As I showed you, however, the end result will be quite nice and we can actually enjoy the game without having to worry about any of the stability issues like I mentioned before. So if you guys have enjoyed the video and if you have found it useful, then do give us a like. If you have any comments or queries about how to change your shader options and how to change your shader settings with Iris shaders and how to manually edit your shader files and change them, then do leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to try and help you guys out. And also, please do subscribe to this channel to help support, to help it grow, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.